We're going to jump into a demo today and see how Sauce AI for Insights can insert into your current workflows, but help you accelerate that process to debugging, accelerate that process for root cause analysis, and ultimately just get to a quality state of software quicker. So I'm going to share my screen real quickly. So this is Sauce Home. And this gives you a really high level view of how your tests have been performing over a period of time. You can adjust the filters here at the top left to cull and kind of slice and dice this data on the homepage here for whatever outcome you're trying to achieve. You can slice it by team, you can slice it by individual test owner, and then you can also understand the data over your most interested point of time. So you could look at data for one day, anywhere from one day all the way up to 30 days. So we're just going to leave it on 30 days, and this gives us a holistic sense of how our tests have been performing over that period of time. Um, Part of the reason that I wanted to stop and detail this page a little bit is it gives us context for how Sauce AI for Insights operates. The data you see here will inform the answers, the responses, the responses from the large language model to give you the most accurate context of what you're looking at here for your particular use case. So we're going to leave this data here without changing any of the filters for now. And one thing we're going to do is compare the experience from the old conventional way of understanding a build or a failure or a test versus how we have improved that experience with Sauce AI for Insights. So, as a longtime Sauce user, if you're watching this, I'm sure you've been through this process many times. We come over to the Insights tab, we jump into test history, and we're looking at let's jump into virtual devices, and let's set the time period for, ooh, there we go. So down here at the bottom, we have a listing of all of our jobs. And we can see here four jobs, or excuse me, four test runs here have failed. We see that on many of these jobs. And usually what this takes is actually digging into those test runs, going all the way down into test results, and looking through logs, looking through thousands of lines of code and logs and the video replay to understand what went wrong in that test case. However, with Sauce AA for Insights, we cut that time down by a magnitude. So what we can do is head back to Sauce Home here on the left-hand panel. You can see it's labeled here with a new tag. And let's start digging into some of those tests and builds and failures to understand what's going on. So I'm going to start with understanding how a build or understanding how my builds are performing over the past month or so. So to launch Sauce AI for Insights, you can see we have these AI icons in the top right-hand corner of each of our widgets on the home page. Right now, Sauce AI for Insights is available in these widgets. And you can see as we add more capabilities and as we add more data and context to our services here, you will see these other widgets enabled in the very near future. So I'm going to start with our automated builds widget and launch Sauce AI for Insights. So we can see here, we're greeted with a very familiar conversational interface that we've all really used before with any type of large language model conversational interface. So from here, what we can do is start using the suggested prompts that are tailored to the data that is available in these widgets to help us understand different aspects of how our testing is performing over time. You also have the ability to just type into the text box ask a question in natural language, and the Sauce AI for Insights agent will go to work understanding that language and then providing you with an answer and a response that is tailored not only to the data available to you in your Sauce home, but also tailored to the prompt that you have given us for the agent to execute. So we are actually going to start with um, understanding how our builds are performing over time. So we're going to use that sample prompt, give it a click, and then we are going to let the agent do its magic and kind of analyze our builds. So
So,
you can,
before you go on, so how would you say our AI agents differs from general LLMs?
yeah. So we have a few under the hood implementations that really make Sauce AI for Insights Agent more valuable than, say, pulling data via an API and feeding it to an outside model. And a few of those are we are tailoring all of this information based upon only your data available here in Sauce Home. What that means is everything you see here on Sauce Home, the Sauce AI for Insights agent will have access to, but with added guardrails, with added permissions. So Sauce AI for agent permissions mirror that of the rest of the platform for Sauce AI, excuse me, for Sauce Labs. So uh, one team member will not see or have access to different data than they have access to in another place in the platform. But also, you get access to much more data than is available via our public APIs via Sauce AI for Insights. So you can use an outside model if you want, but you won't have the context, the
Hmm.
personalization,
Hmm.
and the really deep insights that Sauce AI for Insights agent provides.
Perfect.
That was a great question, Carlos. Beyond that, Sauce AI for Insights agent also will not, has not, and will never use your data for training this model. So while we are providing it a very narrow context to understand your testing strategy for processing, and that allows us to avoid hallucinations. It allows us to provide you with a really accurate answer. It is also the case that we will never train this model with your customer data. So an outside model, you may not have control over that. You may,
Mhm.
but at Sauce Labs, we take security and compliance extremely seriously, and you'll see the same permissions and data privacy across our platform. So let's jump back into the automated builds here. You can see, and just to highlight a couple user experience items here, you can resize the Sauce AI for Insights window. It'll stretch and get thinner as well. And you can actually use this button at the top here to expand the Sauce AI for Insights agent conversational interface to half your screen. So that way you still have access to the data over here on the left-hand side and you can still see it, but then you still have access to what Sauce AI for Insights agent is giving you from a response perspective over here. So we asked the agent, how are my bills performing over the past 30 days? And through the conventional methods at Sauce, and through conventional methods for debugging and understanding how builds are performing, we would have to go into every build. We would have to go into the test details, to the test results pages, aggregate all that data, and try to make our own conclusions on how things are performing. But in just a couple seconds, we saw the Sauce AI for Insights agent aggregate this data, summarize it, but also provide suggestions on what the next steps may be to help you improve quality of these builds. So we can see from the summarization here, we have 50 builds, 47 of them passed and 2 of them failed. So we can get a very quick summary right here, but also Our Sauce AI for Insights agent will ask you about suggestions for next steps. So we can see here we have one suggestion. Would you like me to investigate the details of the failed or errored builds? We can also look into the jobs with a specific build. So I would like to ask it to um, please look into the failed builds and give. So as you saw, we started with a suggested prompt, but there is no restriction on using the suggested prompt and then using your own supplied questions as well. So you can mix and match, start with your own question and then use a suggested prompt or vice versa. So we can see here, we can follow up on questions. Our Sauce AI for Insights agent maintains context of the conversation. So it knows that I'm talking about these builds here just right above. And actually, I want to highlight that in another way. So if for instance, you're working in the agent, the conversational interface, and you need to understand a piece of data that isn't available to you kind of to the left here. So what we can do is click out of the agent, come grab our data, come grab that metric that's important to us, and then jump back into the agent. And you can see we've maintained the context. It actually did some processing and response as we were looking for that piece of data. So you can even take care of multiple tasks at the same time. So again, we asked the agent to look into the failed builds and give us suggestions for how to mitigate the failures. So what it starts with is a listing of the builds that we have that are failed. And we can see these are RDC builds. So these are part of our real device cloud builds. And that's another really great benefit of Sauce Home is that we're combining data from different sources, whether it is our virtual device cloud, our visual testing solution, or our real device cloud to give you the most holistic and full picture of your testing strategy over time. So we can see all the jobs listed here, and then the agent will actually give you suggestions on how to debug those individual failures. So it will give you suggestions based upon the type of failure or error that has happened. And then you can go in, make those changes, and see the increase in quality that you'll have from cutting that time of debugging down from minutes or hours to seconds.
This is a very powerful demo you have here, Adam. And given that the AI agents provides next steps, it also opens up the user experience in terms of skill sets. For example, new members that are just coming on board to the organization that are just coming up to speed with testing environments. They could easily and quickly come up to speed, provide value and productivity into the builds, into lifecycle releases.
It's exactly right, Carlos. Not only is it going to free up your developers with more time to build features, but it also increase their skill set across the board, and not just for developers. Whether it is an SDET, a QA manager that needs a high-level report for their leadership team, whether it is an individual contributor on a developer or SDET that needs to understand how flaky their tests are and how to mitigate those. It levels up each individual, regardless of their role within the organization, but also allows them to get to that outcome that they're looking for much quicker than traditional methods of data analysis. Now, we could follow up here. Again, you can see that our Sauce AI for Insights agent gives us another follow-up suggestion. It helps us understand what the outliers are. It helps us understand where the extremes are and helps point our eyes in the direction of the items that need the most attention automatically. One area where I do want to also highlight is how we improve the answers and suggestions that the agent will give you. I mean, you can see this right down here at the bottom is this feedback mechanism. So if you get an answer from the agent that isn't terribly helpful or isn't accurate, what we can do is provide feedback here. And there'll be an option for you to actually provide qualitative feedback in the form of a text answer as well. So I actually really like this answer. It's going to help me better understand how to mitigate these failures within these real device jobs. So I am actually going to give it a thumbs up. And then over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to say, I'm actually going to use failures. And these responses are sent directly to the Sauce Labs team, not to the large language model, to understand how accurate and how valuable the answers of the agent are for you. So this is one way we'll help improve the answers that we're getting for you. All right, let's jump to another use case. So we saw a little bit about understanding how our automated builds and then the failures within those builds were performing. We really dug deep into the data around the builds, but then also the jobs and then the reasons for failure or errors for those jobs. And while that is a really great use case for kind of a developer or a QA or an SDET, uh, Sauce AI for Insights agent also provides value to many other personas. And one I want to talk about real quick is kind of maybe a managerial or a leadership persona. Maybe you are leading quality for an organization. Maybe you are a QA manager. Many different roles, many different personas will draw value from the agent because it gives you personalized answers based upon the data that you see and then also the prompts you provided. So as we saw previously, we were digging into the Sauce AI for Insights agent here with the context of the automated builds widget. But I want to jump up here to the top and dig into our summary widget. So our summary widget really provides a great 10,000 foot view of our testing over our selected time frame here. So in this case, 30 days. So we can see our total number of tests, how they are performing over that period of time, whether there are failures or errors or those jobs that have a complete status that don't have a failure or an error. And then we have other metrics here to help us really understand how are our jobs performing over this period of time. So there are a lot of pieces of data that go into the back end that make up this widget here. So as you can imagine, we have to understand how jobs are performing, the failures, the errors, the completeds, build pass rates, things like this. So we have access to all of that from our Sauce AI for Insights agent. So I am going to launch Sauce AI for Insights via the summary widget here. And then again, I want to focus on a managerial or leadership persona here. So I want to get high level. I want to understand what are we doing from a high level to increase velocity, increase quality, reduce toil time, make sure that we can understand where our baseline and improve something like mean time to resolution. So I want a high level overview of how my team has been performing over a period of time. So I am going to actually start with the second prompt here. So this one reads, suggest improvements to my testing strategy based upon the information in the widget. So again, Sauce AI for Insights agent is aware of the context here in the Sauce home. So it will understand what's in that widget and then give you results based upon that. So we can see over the past 30 days, because that is the time interval we have set in the widget, we've seen a significant drop in test volume. We've seen a decreased pass rate, an increase in failure and error rates, and then an increased runtime as well. Now, suggestions for how to understand those things from a really high level. Sauce AI for Insights will give you those suggestions on how to improve anything that has changed over that period of time. So you can see, investigate the drop in test volume, prioritize addressing errors, analyze failure trends. And then you can choose for the agent to do any of those or follow up with your own questions. So, as a manager, I want to analyze failure trends. I want to understand where my team is being blocked, why they're being blocked, and how I can help remove that blocker for them through our testing. So I've asked the agent to analyze those failure trends, and it gives us kind of a breakdown by day here. It gives us a breakdown by browser, OS, framework, and the owner, so who actually ran that test case. And then more suggested actions to help us remove that blocker for my team and drive that velocity to a higher level of quality much quicker. So again, we have the ability to kind of uh, rate the value of response there via the feedback mechanism. But I hope this has given you a really great picture into how different personas across the board, whether it is someone in an executive level position that needs a high level understanding of the quality of our application, all the way down to an individual contributor that's a QA, an SDET, a dev that really needs to dig into failures or test flakiness. The Sauce AI for Insights agent will enable and accelerate quality for all of those personas.
Imagine yourself in the positions as a manager, as that developer, and asking those questions in intuitive fashion. Simply ask as you're talking to a colleague, what are my failure rates? What are the trends? And get rich, actionable answers. So that's a great demo. Thank you for that, Adam.
Thanks, Carlos.